Hello, my love. Welcome, gorgeous soul. Welcome back to another episode of the Paige Cole Confessionals. Today's story is going to be about my very first shift as a stripper. So I'm super excited to talk about that. But if you've been liking these videos and you're loving my channel, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and make sure that you like and comment on the videos. You know, I love hearing your feedback and seeing which videos you guys are liking. Follow me on Instagram as well at the.page.cole. I'm very active over there. But okay, so getting into today's confessional. My very first shift as a stripper. So I have been dancing. I started dancing when I was 19 years old. And I am 30 years old right now at the time I'm recording this. And so I've been a dancer for 11 years and I am an OG dancer through and through. And so when I was thinking about what story do I want to tell today, I was like, you know, your first shift as a stripper is so unique, right? I think every single stripper out there remembers what their first shift was like because you're in this whole new industry, this whole new environment. Like, it's so scary, but also so exciting at the same time. And so I really just wanted to share my story about my very, very, very first shift ever being a stripper. So as I shared on the last confessional, I shared about how I got started stripping, and I went and I did an amateur night. And I won, and after winning the amateur night, I was offered a position and they paid for my license, so I went and got licensed, and they told me when to come in. Now, mind you, I was going from working at a restaurant, working a normal corporate job, like I was an employee, and so I was conditioned to, you know, think that when someone tells me my shift time, like, that's what time you have to show up, because if you don't show up, you get fired or you get written up for being late or something like that. I had never worked in the strip club industry and I didn't understand the concept yet of being an independent contractor and how scheduling really works at the strip club, because there really is no schedule and you choose when you go in and when you don't go in, and there's like literally there's no repercussions if you're late. Strippers can't be late, you know, but I didn't know any of this. And so they told me what day to go in and a time, you know, and in their eyes it was like a range of time. In my eyes I was like, oh, okay, I have to be there at 2 o'clock. Okay, I'll be there. You know, I gotta be on time for my first shift. And so I was nervous as fuck, like beyond nervous, because I never worked at a strip club before. Like, the only time I had gone and done was that amateur night that I won. That was cool, you know, but I had a bunch of my friends who came and supported me there, and I was like, fuck, I have to go all by myself. So I'm like, okay, you can do this. So getting my bag packed, getting ready to go there. And during this time, like when my first shift was, I was actually super, super sick. Like I don't know, it was like a chest cold or a head cold. Like I was feeling really, really sick, but I thought I had to go because like this is my new job and I have to show up, and I didn't want to look like a bad employee and be like, oh, I'm calling out sick the first day, when I really, really, really wanted to dance. And so I went into the club sick, but I was like, okay, I'm just gonna power through. I can do this, right? So I walk into the club and I go up to the front hostess stand, and I have no idea what to do. Literally no idea. And in the strip club industry, there is no training. There's no like training manual. It's like dog eat dog. It's like, just go do your thing. Like, there's no help out there at all if you're just new to a club. And so I walked up to the front hostess, and it was like a day shift. Like I was going in for a mid shift. So it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you know, there wasn't a lot of girls. I think there was maybe 4 or 5 girls total, and there wasn't hardly any customers at all, which was nice for me because I was like, God, I need to get situated here. So I walked up and I was like, hi, I'm new. What do I do? Like, I had no idea. And she's like, oh, just go in the back, get dressed, and then come out on the floor and work. And I was like, okay. So I went to the back locker room thinking, what the fuck am I doing? And I walked in the back and I put my outfit on, and I'm just kind of like looking at the other girls, like seeing like, what are they wearing? Like, what's going on, you know? And I was this little 19-year-old, and these other girls, they just looked so beautiful and so confident, and they knew what they were doing. And I was thinking like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? So I got dressed and I was like, okay, here I go. So I walked out on the floor. And there wasn't any customers there yet. It was just like a couple other girls, and they were just sitting around, you know, like around the club, just like we do when it's slow, you know, and I'm just looking around. And I was beyond intimidated. I was so nervous. I was so intimidated and I was so scared, but I was also so excited and like really ready to like make money because I had heard how much money strippers can make. And so what I did is I looked around and I chose the girl who I thought looked the nicest. You know, I was like, I hope she's gonna be nice to me. And I just remember thinking like, please don't be mean, please don't be mean. Because my friend who had worked with me at the Olive Garden, who used to be a dancer, she was telling me how catty and how bitchy the girls are in there. And so like I had this in my head that everyone was gonna be so mean. And so I picked the girl who I thought looked the nicest and I walked over and I was like, hi, I'm new, can you help me? I have no idea. And thank God she was nice to me. She's like, yeah, no problem. So she kind of explained how the club worked and she explained how dances worked and, you know, the prices for here, the prices for here and the stage. And she just kind of explained the whole thing to me. And then I was like, okay. And then a customer ended up walking in and she was like, go talk to him. And I was like, no way. I was like so scared. And she's like, come here, I'll introduce you. I'm like, okay. So she walked over to the customer with me. It was so nice of her, you know, thinking back in hindsight, this was literally the only customer in the club. Like she could have gone over and talked to him and asked for a dance herself, but she was kind enough to walk me over there and she was like, hi. And I don't know if maybe she knew him or maybe he was a customer that danced with her. I quite frankly have no idea, but she like introduced me. So this is my friend, she's new. And he was like, hi. And I remember he was like this chubby, half balding man with like these glasses. And, and he was a banker. I remember that. I don't remember his name, but I remember what he looks like. And I remember he was a banker. And I walked up and then I was just like, I didn't know, I was like, hi, like, so do you want to have a dance? Like, I had no idea what to say. I had no idea what to do. I was so nervous and I was like, I think you're just supposed to ask for a dance. So I'm just going to ask if he wants a dance. And he's like, sure. And I was thinking like, wow, that was really easy. So we got up, we walked over and he got a $20 dance. And so he sits down and then I'm like, the song starts and I'm like, am I really going to do this? I'm like, okay, fuck it. Here we go. You know, and I just like, my friend had showed me how to do it. She gave me lap dances and I like practiced on her and stuff. And so I'm like, okay. And I'm doing it thinking in my head, like, am I doing this right? Like, this is so weird. I'm dancing on some random old fucking dude, stranger, you know, and I'm dancing, but I'm kind of like having fun. And I was like, wow, this isn't so bad, but also totally in my head the whole time. And then the song ends and then the song ended and I was like, do you want another one? Just thinking like, oh, maybe I can get more money. Like I had no idea. Literally had no idea anything about how to make more money or how to talk to customers. I had no idea about anything. And he was like, sure. I was like, in my head, I'm like, fuck yeah, like more money. And so I started doing the other dance and I was thinking like, wow, that was really smart of you, Paige, to ask for another dance. You know, obviously in hindsight, you know, having dance, obviously you always ask for another dance and you always ask for an upsell. But I remember that very first dance, it just like came to me like, ask for another one. So I did 2 dances and then that's all that he wanted. And so then he paid me the $40 and I remember like thinking like, wow, I just made $40 fucking in like 4 minutes. I thought that was so amazing. I was like, holy shit, this is so much money in such a short amount of time, you know? And so that was my very first lap dance ever. And I remember I was dancing and I like turned around to like dance like from behind. And I remember looking at him and he was like licking his lips and I'm just like this old man and I was like, what am I doing? I'm so used to that shit now, so jaded. I'm like, yeah, you like that? But the very first one was really weird and like out of my element and I had no idea what I was doing. But I figured it out. And then the rest of the shift, so since I was super sick, you know, I was thinking, I was like going back and forth. I was like, do I ask to leave or not? Like I really didn't feel good. And I had done like a couple songs on stage and I got like one or two more dances like that. And I had only been there for an hour and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go ask if I can go. But in my head, I was like, I don't wanna look like a bad stripper or like, I really don't wanna lose this job, you know? And so I went and asked, I explained I wasn't feeling good. And they're like, why'd you even come in? And I was like, oh, I thought I had to. You know, and so then they let me leave and, you know, so I went and I dressed, I put my clothes back on and I figured out like what tipping out was and I just like was figuring everything out. They walked me to my car. I got in my car, I drove home and I was thinking like, wow, I made $100 in 1 hour. And I was thinking, like, I used to have to work a full, like, 6, 7, 8-hour shift at Olive Garden, dealing with shitty ass people, horrible managers, people just being so rude, overworking myself to barely make $100. And I made $100 on my first shift in like 1 hour. I was like, this is amazing. And so I, the next couple days I was sick, so I was home, and I was so excited to get back in there. And then when I was healthy again, I remember it was a Friday night, and so I went in. This was my second shift ever, and I went in on a Friday night, and I was like way more confident because, the first day jitters were out. I was still totally nervous because I'm still brand new. I'm figuring everything out. I don't know how it works. But then I went in and worked an actual shift, and I remember coming home that night, and I had made $540 on like my first full shift. And I remember walking into my house thinking like, I fucking struck gold. Like, holy shit, this is so much money. And I was so excited, and like, it was just the most amount of money that I had ever made in such a short amount of time. And quite frankly, I had fun. Like, yeah, it was weird, and I felt weird dancing on dudes and stuff, but it was so much money, and I was like, this is amazing, and then it was actually October, the month that I very first started. So I had my first shift, and then I had my first full shift, made $500, and then that month, I would work, and I'd make money. I'd make like $300, $500, $600, $700, around, and I was like, holy crap, this is really good money. And then Halloween came. I remember the first Halloween, so I had worked there for about a month, and Halloween was the very first shift that I hit $1,000, and I walked home with like over $1,100, and I was done, ladies and gentlemen. I was like, holy fuck, I had no idea you could make that amount of money in that short of time. And I was like, I just keep getting better and better. Like, it just keeps going up from here, And so that's how I started. That is how my career started. My very first shift, my very first real shift, and then my very first $1,000. It was Halloween. $1,000 was like $1,100, and I was hooked. I freaking loved it, right? And then fast forward to today, here we are, and it's like, I make $1,000, and I'm like, meh. No, I'm so grateful when I make $1,000, $1,000, $2,000 in a shift, but I will always, always, always remember my very first shift and my very first $1,000 shift, because it was so, fucking crazy to me at that time, So that's what it was like when I was a baby stripper. If you like this video, or if you have questions, or if you want me to talk about a subject on the next Paige Cole Confessional, leave a comment, like this video, leave a comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at the.paige.cole. Hit me up there, super active. If you are a dancer and you want resources, listen to my podcast, the Make It Rain podcast. I talk about being a 6-figure stripper, I talk about money manifestation, and I talk about entrepreneurship and building a business outside of the club. So with that being said, I hope that you liked this video, and tune in next week for the next episode of the Paige Cole Show. And until then, go make it rain, baby.